Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this month's content. As you know, I'm Barb King, the founder of the King Dog Sports Club. And today we're going to be talking about CWAG's Nosework. I didn't want to sit here and talk to myself, so Jody is going to interview me for you. Take it away, Jody.
Take it away. Hi, my name is Jody Maley. I'm actually owner of a business called the Heart Centered Entrepreneur. And Barb and I have actually been friends for a zillion years. I don't want to say how long because that would age us terribly. And so, I got introduced into dog sports a while ago by Barb with my dog. And so this is kind of cool that I get to interview her for CWAGS, which is a nosework group that Booker, my dog, has actually been part of and that we enjoy. So let's get to know Barb a little bit more and what her mission is and what she's been doing with CWAGS and how you guys can, get into it as well and how fun it is. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know where you grew up, but you can tell everybody else where you grew up.
Yeah, why don't you tell everybody about me?
Wow, the juice. No, just kidding. We've both been Quesnel in the heart of BC here for what, over 40 plus extra years. So.
10 years. Most of our lives have been in Quesnel, yeah.
Most of our lives in Quesnel.
I grew up fairly rural with my parents split when I was in elementary school. So my dad always had labs and lab crosses. And my stepfather wouldn't allow any pets, so we didn't have anything until I snuck a cat in high school.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And a hamster.
Right, and a hamster. That is correct. That is funny. And I grew up with having always kind of some sort of pets in our house. Mostly my mom liked cats, crazy cats. We had some really nutball that used to attack Barb every time she stayed over at her house. She'd get off her bed and the cat would go and glomp onto her. But I don't think either one of us growing up were around dog sports or dog type community things. I think it was always cool when we go to your dad's house and he'd have his labs and he'd always be showing us tricks and doing stuff with his dogs. His dogs were super smart and he always trained them to, if he could get them to fetch a beer, he probably would have, but
he probably could have done that, but he stuck to the balls.
Yeah. And so over the years, I've seen you with, pets that are more on, because Barb kind of likes pets that are a little bit more interactive type pets. I mean, you've had your cats and other those type of animals, and even with your cats, you're pretty interactive with them too. But tell us what got you into your first dog sport interest.
Yeah, so basically once I got out of the house, I was like, yay, I can finally have pets.
And she had a lot.
I ended up with, at the most, was 4 cats and 2 dogs, which seemed extreme then, but it seems like nothing now compared to a lot of people I know. So I've always had lab crosses, but I've also had a Lhasa. I think he was my first dog that I got on my own once I was out of school. Sheltie, I like the long-haired fuzzies, but I hate the grooming, so we're not going that route again.
As I say with my German Shepherd, love my German Shepherd. The hair. It's the hair.
Yeah. So my longest dog that I've had before Toby was a Pomeranian named Schnitzel, and she was a character. But then I got Toby. Ed and I got her. Well, she just turned 13, so almost 13 years ago, and he wanted a dog that was more a dog for him as well, because I had the Pomeranian when we got together, who didn't like him because she didn't like anybody on her bed. So we went looking, and I was like, I grew up with labs. A lab would be a good dog because he likes to go running and stuff. So we went up to my chiropractor in Prince George, and he had a chocolate lab that had puppies. So I convinced Ed that, we should just go look. because they were only $100 for clients. So we went and just looked. They were a lab border collie mix, which I haven't had a border collie before. But they look so much like a lab. I was like, oh, they must have lots of lab characteristics. So we had done some research and we looked at the puppies and picked the one that seemed the most interested in us and interested in doing things. The other ones just went and lied down and slept. So we picked her up like a week or two later. All was great. Well, she was nuts. I found out later that the reason they were all sleeping is because they had just been on a 2-hour walk. And we picked the only one that still had energy.
So note to people researching, make sure you ask a lot of questions like, how come this one's more energetic than the other ones?
Learn from my mistake. I say mistake, but she's an amazing dog, and she's taken me in all sorts of directions that I didn't even know were out there. So we basically, as soon as she broke me at 8 weeks old. It was going to be, okay, she's going to be a big dog. We won't put her on the couch. Well, her favorite game was jump from one couch to the other while we tried to get her off. So 8 weeks old, she broke us. We gave up. And then Ed does most of the exercise. So he was walking her every day. And he had never had a dog before. So he didn't realize that she was showing extreme interest in cars. So when I finally got out on a walk for them, I was like, oh my God, we need to stop this before she gets overly obsessive. And being a border collie, it was too late. So we looked for trainers, and there was only a couple in town. We did some obedience training when it ended up time to try and train the don't chase cars out of the dog. The trainer had no clue what to do. So we ended up going to the fall fair here because someone was doing an agility demo, and we thought, well, she's half border collie, she's crazy, she'd probably like it. So we went, and we were the only ones that showed up for the demo. So we were lucky enough to get one-on-one with the instructor, which was Kay Whitehead. I know some of you know her. She's been in agility for years around Quesnel, and she took pity on us because she really liked Toby. We find out, 10 years later with a few bottles of wine, she wanted to take her home. But she helped us with some stuff, and then she would go south every winter. So the next spring, Toby and I started in agility lessons with her. And basically the first 2 years were me figuring out how to just get her to stay with me, pay attention to me. So yeah, I always recommend people do a lot of obedience before you do agility, because otherwise you're just wasting your money.
Well, and I think too, when me watching you going through your process of and stuff, and before I even, in the future at some point, we'd probably like another puppy and want to do some dog sports. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that it does take a lot from you, the owner, of knowing how to, if this is something that you really want to love and go into, definitely go in and learn a lot first. And having a dog that listens well, obedience and stuff, especially for that sport, I think would be really, really helpful. So you have a dog that, yes, has high energy, has high drive, but can go through the obedience part, because I've never had a dog actually pass obedience. I've had crazy dogs too. I don't know. I'm like, what? And I think that watching you though, but Toby loves it and she's great at it now. But those first couple of years, it was pretty funny because I couldn't even show up to them because it'd be like, oh, Auntie Jody, and off she'd like run off the course, and I'd be like, I swear I didn't do anything. I tried not even to make eye contact with her.
Yes, she's challenging but fun. Excuse me. So we started with agility, and then I basically found people locally who were into a bunch of different sports, and I glommed onto them and harassed them, and that's how we started Fit Pets Dog Sports Club. And that opened a whole realm of possibilities for other sports. We ended up, Barb Heronshaw was the one who started with the Nosework, and she went up to Prince George for a seminar. Sorry, phone ringing. And she ended up bringing Dana Gallagher down for a Nosework seminar in Quesnel. And that was my first taste of it. And I got to say, Toby and I loved it from the beginning. Before that, the only thing that I found that helped me with her with focus was tricks. And with tricks, she just, because they're fast, she learned them quick. We have lots of fun with tricks, but Nosework is really does something to her that just calms her brain, and she's amazing. And I love that I can just sit back and go, okay, do it, and show me where it is.
And I think that's the key thing, that when you introduce me to Nosework too, because I've got a crazy dog as well, not as crazy, I don't think, as Toby, but he's gotten calmer now that he's almost 10. So but even the other day I was feeding him, he was jumping around. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like you're a 2-year-old again. Like he goes through moments but he's definitely, he probably still has the energy of about a 4 or 5-year-old now, is what I kind of group him as. And I think that that's calm, but meh. And so that was one of the things that you had said to me too, about going into Nosework with him, because he loves the high energy. He's in the dock diving, and he loves that. Like, he just ching. And for a German Shepherd, he's like, I don't know, in like the 12th for the country, like all North America, because he's, for his breed, he jumps really, really far. I think their average was like 12 feet, and he just pops out like 17-foot jumps all the time. Nothing compared to the labs. Those guys are crazy. But for him, for his breed. And so that's what you were saying, like, what do I do in the winter time? And that's where you introduced me into WAGS and going that, and we do it for fun. We're not like, we're an occasional Nosework person, but I love, just like what you said, it brings their focus down and their calm energy into that work. And my cat even enjoys it. So when we're around home, Booker's all excited because it's like, oh, we're going to get to do some Nosework, because he loves it, even at home. So we practice every couple times a week, I would say, for sure. And the funny thing is that the cat she sits on the fines and looks at him like, it's right here.
So is Booker searching for the cat or the
I don't know. And then I have to shoo her away, and then it's pretty funny. But even outside, she finds the smells outside too. So even if we're doing Nosework outside. But tell us a little bit about WAGS itself. And I know I've met Dana too. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. So yeah, explain more about
basically, when we started teaching or competing and learning, SDDA was the biggest organization, and they still are. So that's the Sporting Detection Dogs Association. So it's the biggest one in Canada. So they have different scents. So we started with them, and we did, it's called a DOT, which is a designated odor test. So it's basically 10 or 12 boxes in a row. One of them has scent. Can your dog see if there's an odor? Can they recognize odor? So we did that in Prince George. And then Dana and Cassie from up there told us about WAGS. And they were like, you got to start, you got to do it, become a judge. Let's get this going up here. So a few of us were like, okay, let's do it. I became a judge fairly quickly. So I've been a judge for, 7 or 8 years. And their equivalent of the designated odor test is level 1, which is like, they changed the rules. So I'm going to read it because I have a horrible memory for all the different organizations. 9 to 10 boxes, 2 feet apart. You have 90 seconds to find one scent. And what I like about WAGS is their whole philosophy. So it stands for Canine Work and Games. They also do rally and obedience and some other fun games. Obviously, Nosework is my favorite. They make it really easy for new clubs to get started and new people to compete in the sport. It's very friendly for everybody. You can have junior handlers. It's considered a team sport. So nobody else
Right.
can run my dog for me. Like in agility, anybody can run your dog. The title goes with the dog. With WAGS, it's a team sport. So I'm the only one that can run my dog. Or say if my husband wanted to, he can, but he does a separate team and they get their own separate team titles.
Oh, okay. So, that's kind of cool. And I always like that aspect because people are like, welcome team Booker. And I'm like, oh, we're a team, buddy. Yeah. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah. So, so level 1 is super easy to get into. I'll have a course with all the sort of specifics, but all you have to do is teach your dog how to find one scent. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it. I don't consider myself a trainer at all, but I have taught some introductory courses based on I'll get the acronym wrong, NAS something W, which is the organization that started the sport of nosework in the States. So the way they do it is basically you teach the dog to hunt first. So you hide food in boxes, lots of praise, lots of extra treats. Then you just add the odor in with the food. Make sure it's, if you have dogs like mine, secured so the dog cannot eat the odor or the container it's in. Because labs. And then you take the food away, and you can train with food as long as you want. Because for those of us that are not good trainers with bad timing, it gets rid of that whole run quickly and get it to them fast enough before they move on, because they can reward while they're there. And again, there's lots of different methods now to train the scent. So we'll try and find some resources if people want as well in your different areas to get started. But so all you have to do, and I've trained dogs in like 2 hours to go from having no idea to passing a WAGS level 1 test.
Yeah, that one was a pretty, well, for me, again, this was a sport just like with the other ones, whether it's agility or the other ones, where you have to actually learn almost as quickly as the dog, and especially, and any type of dog. That was the other thing too. Like I love that going to my first introductory ones. I mean, obviously you have a German Shepherd, and I kind of felt like with the German Shepherd that the pressure was on you to like perform. Because it's a German Shepherd and Nosework. Everybody knows that breed, is made for it. And I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Like, somebody teach me. And that was probably the biggest thing, and still is with him, is that he's so quick that his signals are super really subtle. Like I've found it already. I'm on to something else. He actually peed on one of the fines in a competition, which is highly frowned upon by the way. But,
you don't qualify if your dog pees.
But they're like, to be fair, he did find it. I'm like, it was just me who didn't know. So that's what I like with the intro one, is that there were all sorts of types of dogs, like right from Pomeranians, like little lap dogs, to the bigger dogs. And I really enjoyed that aspect. So I'm like, this is really literally, your dog has a nose. It can do this.
Yeah. I can honestly say I have not seen a dog that does not enjoy the sport. And I have had a couple people tell me after taking the intro that their dog didn't like it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't know your dog. Because it's so natural for them. So a few things about WAGS is, in order to get a title, you need to qualify in 4 runs under 2 separate judges. So a lot of different organizations, you only need 3, but WAGS thing is a well-balanced dog has 4 legs, so they want 4 legs for each title. So that's level 1. Now you can enter level 1 or level 2 when you first start. You don't have to go level 1, level 2. So the level 2 is significantly harder. You've got 2 different odors, or 2 different hides. It could be birch, cypress, or clove. Now they want 1 to 2 tables and 5 chairs or stools that are grouped, as well as 9 to 10 objects and containers on a perimeter or single line. There's no distractions. There's different minimums between heights and size of the room, but you have 3 minutes to find the 2 hides, and they're both accessible. One has to be on or in an item, and one has to be under the seat of one chair. So they still make it fairly straightforward for level 2 if you want to jump in right in level 2. And again,
I wouldn't recommend that personally as a beginner if you're just trying it out or trying to learn it. I did the level 1, and I think we practiced the level 1 quite a bit because, again, it was me not knowing what to do. Now having more experience, I probably, could practice with my dog at home and or in clubs if you're available into a club that has it. That I would probably do the level 1 and the level 2 within the same weekend or whatever. But that's only because now I'm more experienced. But that's, yeah.
And then they also have another stream that they started a couple years ago called Scent Ranger. And this is basically, it's super easy, again, if your dog can work away from you. So it's sort of like Gamblers and Agility. Can your dog work away from you? So the level 1, you can jump in at level 1 on this. You don't have to have the regular level 1s either. So there's 3 different ways you can jump in right away. So level 1 is 1 hide in either birch or cypress. And there's 8 boxes in a single file row on the ground, 2 to 4 feet between the boxes. And you have 90 seconds to find the hide. I'm missing. Oh, there it is. And you have to stand 7 to 8 feet away from the boxes. So your dog can be on leash or off leash. So like along one side of a wall, there would be the boxes. And then usually there's a line. You stay behind that, send your dog. My dogs don't really care if I'm there or not. So it's not as challenging for me. Although I'd say with Harvey, if he's confused, he comes back for me to tell him what to do. So he's a little harder to work on a distance. Toby, you just let her go and she's like, yeah, come and feed me. Or she'll be like, ping, here it is. Run back for food before I even have a chance to get there. So see what your dog's like. Those are sort of the 3 different games you can get started in right away. The other thing that's really cool with WAGS is once you get your title, you're not done. If you want to, you can continue on and get an additional 10 cues in any level to get an ace title. And then you can go on to get 2 times ace or 3 times ace. It's sort of forever. So if you have a dog that some of them can't handle some of the higher levels, or it's just too hard, or as they age, they don't want to do as much, you can stay in the lower levels forever and keep competing and getting bigger and bigger ribbons and having fun with your dog that way too.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I'm not even sure. Like I said, we haven't been involved for a while, mostly COVID reasons, and so that's the other thing too. It will be fun, getting more involved this year because as Booker's winding down, and that's the other thing too. Age is a big factor that some people think, oh, my dog's too old, blah, 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 blah. But I've been of the mindset that I've been letting him do his dock diving because he's younger and more. And I'm like, as long as he loves it and can safely get out of the pool, that will still be his favorite. Like he loves it. And knowing, though, that I can now do more nose work as he's gotten a little older because that love won't ever go away, and he can still there's blind dogs, like there's all sorts of things that you can still do with older dogs. Like one of your mom's older dogs, like right up and until they passed away, they were doing nose work.
I think, was it Patches, like even a month before he passed away, she has, for those that don't know, she had little Shih Tzu Lhasas. He went into competition and he loved it. Like I said, I think
And she
you go
started them older too.
Yeah, I think they were over 10 when she started them in it. So yeah.
So that's the other thing too that's nice with the CWAGs, I find, especially because I've gone to some of your other ones where we weren't competing or whatever, but I've gone out of wanting to know. And I have to say that the CWAGs, for me as a beginner, was probably one of the easiest ones to kind of get into and learn a little bit more with it and not feel so competitive. Some of the other ones are way high and competitive. And for me, it's just to, get a bit of crazy out of my dog for a couple hours.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's the other thing with CWAGs compared to some of the other ones like SDDA and CKC, is that with CWAGs, it's a pass or fail. They time you and you tell you your time to make sure you're within the time, but there's no placements. So there's no pressure on, and they actually have that you are not allowed to give awards for fastest dog, that type of thing. It is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. You are competing with yourself and your dog, not with everybody else. Just go and have fun. And yeah, I love the organization because of that too. Like, it's just some of the trials I've been to with the placements, people get a little snippy if your dog wins and they don't know who you are. But I'm sure
which I had before, because again, the dog is awesome. It's me that I don't know what's going on. And I think he was like 4 seconds in and I'm like, alert. I wasn't sure. And they're like, yes. And again, it was just the dog knew it, right? And some people are like, of course, because he's a German Shepherd. I'm like, well, he probably, again, it's not, he knew it, but I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And like, don't take it out on me.
We're making this sound easy, but as far as dog sports go, it's one of the easiest to get into and get started. As you move up the levels, more and more training and harder and more stuff that the person has to do.
Exactly. But that's the kind of fun with the CWAGs that I found versus the other ones, being in it a little bit, is just like you said too, it's the dog and you go up yourself, and you're only really competing with yourself and trying to get your next level, your next whatever, and that everyone can be at different levels and still be out and have a great weekend and fun doing it. So
yeah. Okay, so what else?
Now so because of the King Dog Sport Club here, now is this something that CWAGs, of course, is a big passion for you, your dogs, and even our sport in our community? Because I know for our community, like, it was just a few of you who first started, like 4 or 5 of you. It's grown pretty big here in Quesnel now. So what's Quesnel at for numbers?
I'm not actually sure, because I haven't been involved in it for the last couple of years for health reasons. So I haven't really been judging much around here. But like, I know some of you guys have come all the way from Terrace to compete in the CWAGs, and we're going to get you started.
I think the last one that we went to, which was just before COVID, because I haven't been involved either since COVID, I think there was 28 teams that I saw at that one.
Yeah, so there's probably at least 30 to 40 teams when we have trials here. So not big compared to some of the larger centers, but Quesnel's not that big. So it's also a good organization to deal with. The people are great. They're very flexible. They're very helpful if you need help getting started, becoming a judge. Each trial also needs what they call an advocate, which is someone that knows the rules, so that they're there to answer questions from new people and make sure the rules are followed. So I don't know. I think they're really great to get involved with on many levels. Let me just scroll.
What about for pricing?
That depends on whatever club they set the prices. So if you're going to compete,
that's what I would be asking. Like, is it different per club, or does CWAGs have like a set amount? Because I know with dock diving, it's pretty much a set amount, but some of the clubs, depending on.
Yeah,
which
it
pool
depends
you're
on the
at.
organization, but yeah, with CWAGs, the club sets the price. So,
Okay.
and so there's 4 scents that you'll need to learn to compete on all the levels. So it's birch, clove, cypress, or anise. Maybe I'll just give you one of the higher levels, give you an idea. I'll have more details in the course, but so
Okay.
one of the higher levels that's probably my worst one with Toby is scent detective diversions. So there's 2 hides only out of the 4 scents, but they have distractions. So could be
Oh,
food, could be
gotcha.
sound, um, could be smell. Like there's all sorts of different distractions. And my dogs are food hounds, so it took me a while to figure out, is she alerting because it's food, or is she alerting because it's a scent? And she's also very, very good at opening containers. Like even one trial in Prince George, there was a muffin inside a paint can that had been hammered shut, and she got that sucker open. So, yeah,
That's
that
funny.
one.
And it is good on that one to test around and play with it, because I think when I was introduced into that one and they had like and somebody's like, don't ask me how I know this, whatever, but they had like cat pee was on a rag. Was one of the distractions. So whether like animal smells or whatever. And then they
Yeah,
asked me with my cats, they're like, would you like your cat in there as a distraction? I'm like, yeah, probably not. They're kind of jerks, both of them. But yeah, so that was kind of so fun things like that. But it does give you a good sense of knowing your dog, like those ones that I was worried about. And again, your dog is amazing, more amazing than what you think is always how I kind of view it, because I thought, oh my gosh, like he is going to be totally distracted by all those things, because they had that and like, I don't know, like a snake skin or something that was totally different. And I
yeah,
thought he is going to get distracted, but no, he knew that once he was at work, those were the smells and some of the distractors for him anyways. I was surprised. And I think it's more up in your head. You, the
yeah,
owner, think that, oh, they're going to be distracted by this or that. And then your dog just does the work. And you're like,
yeah.
who knew?
So one of the other higher level games is more of a mind game for the human, and it's an unknown number of hides. So you go in and you don't know how many you're supposed to find.
That
So
one I find hard.
yeah. So you also have to learn to know when your dog's done, and they can tell you there's nothing here, and you have to believe them. So yeah, so those are sort of the 2 higher levels, and there's more in between. So when we do the Q&A, ask any questions on any of the levels. I just thought I'd deal with the beginner ones here because this is sort of to get people started. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're looking to host a Nosework, this is, I think, the best organization to start with. The other thing they do that most don't is typically when you apply for a trial, you get 1 day or 2 days. And so that's usually why it's on a weekend. But with CWAGs, they let you have league trials. So if you think of like a bowling league, you can do a little bit of your trial once a week for up to 6 weeks.
Oh,
And you
interesting.
can, yeah, so you can do Nosework. You can even do like a week of rally or a week of obedience in there if you want to switch it up. So that's really handy. Like we found here for, people sometimes are better with, they can take off an evening weekday and come and, just have a couple hours, have a fun trial for that level. And then people aren't waiting for hours for their turn either, which is nice. So I really like that. That's a
Yeah,
really fun thing they do.
that's a great idea. And the fact too, yeah, you can spread it out. And sometimes too, maybe you or your dog, like, let's face it too, this is a type of sport that you can have off days, you and or your animal. And there's just been some times where I'm like, yeah, it's just not happening. Like, we're not in sync. I don't know what it was, but there's just days where I'm like, we might as well have just stayed home and watched a movie at home today. But it was fun to get out and see the other teams. And that's the other thing too that I really like with this sport is, at least with this particular group, is that rooting on the other teams too, because you're not in competition with each other, and it is a big celebration when you do reach your next levels of, and you, the owner, can choose, like you said, some dogs don't get into those multiple different smells, like it's a little bit too much for them. And so it is nice that you can level up just in, hey, they're really good at the 4 core smells, and you can just keep going and going and going with those as well. So that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. Like with Mom's dog, when he got to a certain age, it's like, no, he used to do level 3 great, but he just wants to do level 2 now. And he can do level 2 forever. Right? Like I think Mom was the first one in the club here to get the 2 times ace with one of her dogs, because he just wanted to be in that level and happy and yeah. I can't think of anything that I missed here.
So the other one, how long, this is one question that we didn't ask, is how long has WAGS itself been going in Canada? Because are they all North American, or is it just a Canadian?
They started in the States, and I'm not totally sure when they started, but in Canada, we were one of the first groups in Canada to compete with them. So that's probably like 7 years now. So maybe 8.
And I know that some organizations get started, or maybe they venture into different things, but do you think that this one will be around for quite a while too, so that people can, once they start with it, they can enjoy it for a long time?
Yeah, I think so. They've been around, like I said, quite a while with the obedience and the rally, and then they jumped into Nosework. I'm like seeing if I, just looking at the site to see if I can find a date. 2012. Oh, no. 2007 they started in obedience, and then they added in scent in 2012. So they've been around a while. Shirley, the founder, she is great. She is so helpful. They have a page on their site, what makes WAGS different. And I think the main thing is it's just a team, and it's just fun, friendly. Not super competitive because you're competing with yourself. They also have, which I'm working on with my 2 dogs, I'm getting closer, what they call Master Team Awards. So if your dog competes in at least 3 out of the 4 sports they do, so obedience, rally obedience, Nosework, and games is the other one. If you get ace titles in any one level, so I'm working on the level 1 for my dogs, for obedience, rally, and Nosework, for those 3, you get a Master Team Award. So that's, basically like a versatility. Your dogs are good at a variety of things. So that's another cool level. I got 3 more rally runs to do, and that's it. We're done. So I got to get my shit together and do that this month, hopefully.
Haha, you swore before me. Near the end. Everyone always thinks it's going to be me. Out of the 2 of us, we always have this naughty, nice thing, and they're like, I bet it's Jody. I bet it's Jody. Maybe, most of the time. So we're going to wrap up here pretty quick, I think, right?
Yeah, and I can't think of anything else.
No, I think it's a good coverage. Definitely, people who, so we'll just kind of recap here. People who think that, you have a dog, doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter what size or breed, and that's the greatest thing. If you want to give a little bit more and have some fun with your dog, I think that Nosework is a great way to start. And this is something that they can do right up and until, in their old age. Like, that's the one thing. I know my dog's limited on dock diving because of, it's a sport that requires a lot of, they have to get in and out of the pool safely and stuff, physical. So for that, it's physical. But for this type of thing, Booker can do this right up and until, I don't know how long he'll last. He's almost 10 now. And I think that he's starting to get showing some signs of his age and for his breed and stuff. But Nosework can be something that we can enjoy all the time, right up and until he he leaves this earth. So that's kind of the cool thing with it. I also think too that you, and I know you touched on this a bit, but dogs who are extra, have that extra even drive and stuff, I found that doing the high end dock diving obviously releases a lot of energy from him. But I found that even 1 or 2 hours of nose work was almost the same as him being out at dock diving all day. Like he mentally, because it mentally stimulates them too. So we come back from nose work and he's just like in the back, like his tongue's hanging out, like he's just gone.
Like, you only did 3 little 2-second searches. Why are you tired?
Right? Exactly. That's what I think too. I'm like, it's not like we go like a couple days dock diving and it almost seems like it's the same energy spent for him. So that's the other thing too.
Yeah, I can say with Toby, I have I've tried a variety of sports and she's good at all of them. Obviously, she's 13 now, so we're not doing all of them, but Nosework has been her favorite. She is like crazy all the time. You do Nosework and it just brings her down. And even simple Nosework like throwing kibble in the yard, she goes from barking at everything to calm. So to me, it's like a miracle. And it's my favorite thing. And yeah. And people say like, like I've also trained my dogs for lost cat detection. Harvey's not fully trained, but Toby was, and we did the work a couple years ago. And just to show you a difference with the nose work, like you're saying, they get tired after a few rounds. And, the higher levels of nose work, the longest you're going to be going is maybe 10 minutes. Well, we did a search for a cat and she searched for 4 hours without stopping. She didn't want to drink anything. We didn't find the cat, but she was ready. I finally had to stop her. So that gives you an idea of her energy level. And yeah, the scent work of any type with her, just it fulfills something in her brain and is very calming. So I highly recommend scent work of any kind, and I recommend WAGS as a really good organization to start with if you want to compete.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll have the links available for everyone to check that out for their community. If you need extra help, are you going to be supporting people if they need extra help on starting things, or what's your vision with that?
Yeah, so just go into the group and ask questions, and we'll have the live Q&A in 2 weeks here. I will set the date probably the 26th of January. So I will set that up and yeah, get your questions and let me know. If you let me know ahead of time, I'll probably have a better answer.
And are you, this would be kind of fun, but maybe if anyone who is already in Nosework maybe want to, can they maybe pop into the group some of their favorite clips of their dogs doing a little bit of Nosework? Or
yeah, if you want, throw some videos up, and like we all love to watch dogs play, so definitely.
Yeah, and what I like with those ones too is that they're really short, because you're only in that, in the beginner ones especially 90 seconds, so you can watch like the beginner dogs do their fun finds, and that one's kind of fun too. So yeah, if you have some videos from past ones that you guys would like to share with everyone, that would be kind of fun too.
Yeah.
It also gives you a different idea of different people's styles, because that's the other thing too. I find each team, like every team has a different style going into their stuff too. And it wasn't until I was actually working with someone and having someone help me with Booker, because like I said, he was finding things like super fast, that we do kind of quick round the room, because he's got a kind of, somebody goes, oh, he's trying to safety you. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that with my breed, right? So literally he does like a 5-second just around the room check, and then we get to work. It's like it eliminates it out of his mind. Okay, mom's safe. Now I can do my stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting and fun. Watch how other teams, do their nose work, because everybody has a little bit of a different style, which I kind of find interesting.
Yeah, like with Toby, she will never win any speed records because she loves the game too much. She goes around the room, she finds everything. She doesn't want to tell me right away because then it'll be over. So she will eventually tell me.
That's hilarious. And Booker's is really quick. That was my thing, is that he's already, hey, done, and he's on to the next one, and I was missing signals. So again, it's very interesting to see. And then I don't know who has the Pomeranian, but one of the people who has a Pomeranian, the Pomeranian actually sits on the box and then waits for the treat. And I'm like, man, that would be so nice.
But not a German Shepherd, because then he wrecks the box.
No, he wrecks the boxes, and even his tail, as we're going through, sometimes things get, you know, knocked around and stuff. But again, another group that's nice with this, because you don't get penalized because your dog happened to mess up the course a little bit.
Well, you do, depending on how bad it is. There are disqualifications if it's really bad, but oh yeah,
normally his.
One other good thing with WAGS is they give you an oops. So if you accidentally call alert, or your dog crunches something, or you drop food, you're not automatically kicked out. You get an oops, and you can still get a cue. So yeah, all of these little details will be in the course once it's up. I'm in the middle of working on it. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I am so happy that I got to interview you for this one. And again, I highly recommend it. I love Nosework with Booker. And it's one of the fun things that gets us out of the house, gets us doing stuff. And even at home, like you said too, if I want a distraction and quick whatever, I'm like, oh, I'll use a Nosework something, and it just keeps him occupied. And then he'll go and lay down for 20 or 30 minutes after using his little brain. So that's the benefit of it. All right. Well, thank you so much for having this today, and it's going to be uploaded, and I can't wait to see some of the videos from other people. That'd be fun.
Sounds good. See you.